What's up, YouTube?
What's up, everyone?
Coach Svet here from ZAR.
Coach Darko here.
Hey. Today, we're talking emotional attachment with training. So we're going deep into educational stuff with you guys. It's all about the mindset and emotions around training. We're going to be talking about why it's important not to get too involved with how heavy we're going or the numbers or the lifts that we all enjoy, the push, the pull, the squat, the deadlift, and how to strategize that to get optimal results and get the most out of your training, and common mistakes and a lot of lessons that we see as coaches day to day, and methods and lessons that we apply with our members.
Yeah.
Oh, we're also training.
We're also training. We're going to do some lifts, some squats.
Yeah.
Should be fun. We'll see where we're at.
We're squatting, so it'll be it'll be a really fun session where you guys can hopefully see that in practice as well between Darko and myself, and our really we're doing the same lift, but we'll be applying all of this stuff as we're chatting with you guys.
We're at different stages of our training. We've got different niggles and small injuries that we're dealing with, and biomechanical things that we're trying to relearn. So we're going to explore those topics a little bit today as well throughout our session, and hopefully you guys get a fair bit out of it and get a better understanding of why it's important to just respect your own progressive overload and where you're at with your own training in terms of how it's going to help you to perform long term as well.
Ooze, let's go! These things have a right and a left, bro. You gotta go left and right. What are we doing today, bro? 300 kilos, 350?
Just chasing numbers.
Yeah, I might hit 348.5 kilos. Just a light day.
I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't even had a look.
Me neither, man. Man, I guess it ties in quite nicely with what we're chatting about. Like, we've been training for 10 to 15 years. I lose track. I don't know, 15 years. 15 years in the gym, coaching since 12, I've been 12. 13. Yeah. I lose track. We still take the time out, invest the time, and we respect the warm-up protocol. Yeah. We're activating, we're warming up, we're gearing up for our session today.
It's important. Without a proper warm-up, you can't really do a good execution of your lifts. And it also helps you to sort of work on the little smaller stabilizing muscles that are helping us to do some of the bigger lifts as well. It's something that I haven't always prioritized, to be honest with you. Even as somebody who was coaching heavily, I used to preach it a lot to my clients and teach it a lot, but in my own training, I've also been guilty, especially when I was a bit younger, of just chasing heavy numbers. I would look at what elite athletes were doing, guys that had put in 10 plus years of training in the gym when I was in like my second or third year, and I expected to hit numbers that are close to theirs. Even 50% of their lifts was like super heavy for me, but I was still attempting some of that stuff. Poor technique, poor recovery after those sessions, and long term what it led to was me not really making any progress. It just led to a whole bunch of little injuries that got worse and worse as I kept focusing on those numbers, and also focusing on doing particular exercises in a particular way. Like, I tried to conventional deadlift for about 4 years before I realized that for me to get into an optimal position, I needed to switch up to a sumo deadlift, which in turn helped me to do a better conventional lift anyway, because I do still do them from time to time. So it's about figuring out the individualization for yourself as well. What exercises suit your body type.
And there's a lot more coming up on the individualizing of the programming later on in the video. This first bit, our initial take-home message is, what are we trying to say with these warm-ups? Do
the warm-ups.
Do the
Make
warm-ups.
Sure you find where you're weak, what parts of your body need to be strengthened in isolation so that you can get better results when you're doing some of those more bang for your buck compound lifts as well.
Yeah, invest the time into your warm-ups. Don't overlook it. Even if it's 5 to 15 minutes worth of activation drills. Yeah, prime your body for the lift that you're doing on that day.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. All right, it's time for us to chat about Svet examples and Darko examples of emotional attachment with training. D, I'll let you kick it off.
So, like I mentioned previously, there was probably a 4-year period in my training, which was actually quite recent. Not the last 4 years, I'd say. It's been about 2 since I've kind of gotten my head around the concept of pulling back of how heavy I go with my squats and trying to address some of my mobility issues and biomechanics issues. For about 4 years, I dealt with a really bad hip injury that I got from playing futsal. At that stage, I was already well into my training, probably about a year into some heavier lifting. And I managed my injury for, I reckon, about 4 weeks, at which point it started to feel a little bit better. And then I went pretty hard at trying to just increase the lifts, and I was just chasing heavy numbers on my squat, even though the mobility that I had at the time didn't really allow for a good sort of squat technique. Long term, all that really led to was my hip never really recovering properly and my lifts going absolutely nowhere as far as me progressing to a decent weight on a squat. What I ended up doing was I kind of had to really pull back to doing, 60, 70, 80 kilo squats, which felt quite light physically for me. I could get the numbers out pretty easily. Didn't really feel like I was pulling up sore or kind of like I'd even worked out quite hard after those sessions. But what I did find was maintaining good position throughout my lifts was really difficult. When I did do that, it sort of really allowed me to make quicker and better progress long term as well. I guess.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's a good example of that rebuilding a lift.
Yeah.
You got a hip injury from futsal.
Yeah.
So if you were just to emotionally get attached to the numbers that you were doing before the hip injury,
Yeah.
you probably could do them for a little while. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
It would have looked perhaps not as efficient. You wouldn't have been able to manage. You would have been able to manage in the short term, but what would have been the fallbacks long term?
Long term, even on a daily basis, I was feeling pretty shitty.
Yeah.
I would have a good, decent squat session, and the numbers would come up, and it was quite heavy training as well. But then the next day, I would wake up in the morning, I'm walking down the stairs, and all I can feel is my hip.
Yeah.
I would be going into my deadlift sessions, my bench sessions, absolutely everything after that squat session, and all I would feel was the injury that was kind of present already, because I'd aggravated it more and more by chasing those big numbers. So
yeah.
I guess the point Where I'm at now is I've really pulled back and completely changed the way that I squat, everything from my stance to how I activate before training as well, and it's really, really paying dividends. So at the moment, I've been hitting this current program for about 8 weeks now, and I've been sticking to the plan. I haven't really been trying to chase any heavy numbers on squats, just trying to execute good quality lifts, and all I can say is I've had positive sort of feedback. My deadlift is improving just as much as my squat. My bench numbers are going up because while I'm doing some of those other lifts, I'm not focusing on the pain that I feel in my hip because I've been smart about my training in terms of how I squat.
Yeah, you go.
Let's hit another set.
Let's do some sets. Yeah. I can grab the other plates as well. Shit, gotta flex that Aleco, boy. Out here flipping pizzas, bro. What Darko and I are chatting about is we've both come to learn that it's better not to overthink what we're doing on the day. For example, on the day right before the session is when we will have a look at what our coach has programmed for us, how heavy we're going, how many sets, how many reps. And that allows us not to fall into a trap of overthinking, oh damn, today's gonna be a really heavy day, or oh damn, I'm going a little bit easier today, should be a walk in the park, or extremely heavy, I'm hitting a PB, and then psyching myself out, for 5 or 6 hours before. So I still haven't had a look at my numbers, and Darko just had a look at his before. So if you guys draw some lessons out of that, good. An example of emotional attachment with my own training, for a long time, when I first started lifting and when I introduced myself to gym training, I used to do a lot of what I call bro bodybuilding style stuff, where a lot of it was self-taught, and I had a lot of habits that I developed myself, and most of them weren't that efficient when it came to proper training and proper powerlifting methods. So when I had to work really hard on not getting emotionally attached to the numbers and my lifts, was the first time I started with a powerlifting coach. When I started with my coach RF Hunter, I had to be really aware of going, okay, I'm entering a new program, a new phase of lifting. I trust my coach. I know that a lot of what I've done in the past, I didn't really have anybody monitoring me, observing me, helping me out. So I had to go into a detach from all emotions, let my coach have full trust and full control of my sets, my reps, my numbers, my cues, my technique. And that has been a really powerful experience where I've been able to progress. I had to drop my numbers way back, rebuild what I'm doing with my feet, what I'm doing with the positioning of my knees, my hips, all the way up to my lower back, middle back. So that was pretty cool. Let's go. Lifting the sleeves up. Yeah. What is progressive overload? How do we respect it? Why will this help with your training?
Progressive overload, as simple as it sounds, because literally progressive, gradual overload, increase in weight, increase in intensity of how hard you're training. Almost like 50 to 60% of people that I see training in the general sort of community, I see it in big commercial gyms, all over Instagram. Basically just a gradual increase of your load week to week with your training. And that doesn't mean that it's a continual linear progress for like a 12-month period. Within progressive overload, what we also need to do so that our central nervous system, our joints and our body can recover properly, we need to deload the body from time to time as well, which means pulling numbers back, allowing easier and better execution of some of those lifts, and then slowly building up to a weight that you may not have previously touched before.
How will this help our community's training?
You're going to be getting a better result long term. Applying progressive overload allows your central nervous system to recover because you're not pushing weight that's close to your max for what you can lift. You're allowing your joints, your muscles, your body to recover overall. During those weeks where you may be deloading your lifts a little bit, so pulling back on how heavy you're pushing in the gym, one of the things that I encourage a lot of my clients to do is to throw in some more of the mobility exercises that they may not have time to do when they're going into some of their heavier sessions, because generally those sessions will take a little bit longer, so we can dedicate a bit more time to sort of doing the smaller exercises that are going to help with those compound lifts as well. So I guess overall, you're just allowing your body the right amount of recovery time so that you can push harder for longer throughout your training career.
Which long term equates to more results.
More weight on the bar, better movement mechanics,
strength, movement mechanics,
everything.
Fat loss if that's what you're chasing, looking good, feeling good, and longevity.
Being injury-free.
Injury-free, pain-free for a long time, and being able to train. All right, let's do some sets. I'll keep an eye on your next one. Check this damn footage. Check this damn YouTube video. Alex, what up? He's here all morning, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Alex. Let's go, bro. That's looking good, bro. Bro. Looks nice, eh? A lot of what we're chatting about today is like exhibited right here. You and I have been training for a very long time, and in actual fact, we started training together when we were young in high school, before we were personal trainers.
Smith machine bench.
Yeah, before we were at uni, before we studied exercise science, before we studied exercise physiology. And here we are in January 2021, all of these years later, And it is totally okay for us to be lifting different amounts and not be hung up of, damn bro, I gotta beat you. We gotta, oh shit, you're out lifting me, you're lifting heavier than me, or I'm lifting heavier than you, or any of that stuff. So what we're encouraging you guys is to practice getting that out of your system, getting that out of your mindset. Don't fall into that trap of looking at what the other athletes around you are doing. Focus on what you're doing at that point in time in your program.
Yeah. So to kind of build on that example, I've probably done multiple powerlifting programs and cycles of training where my only goal was to get more weight on the bar. Didn't really give a shit about how it looked or how my body even felt after that training. Svet, someone who's kind of been, this is like, what, 18 months into doing powerlifting training, has made better progress on his squat in that period than I have in like 4 years. And that's solely due to the fact that he was able to apply that progressive overload principle and slowly build up his squat in terms of numbers and in terms of technique. And it's a pure sort of example of how to make really, really good progress long term as well. Hopefully, training a bit smarter, I'll get the same result with my squat now.
He got that from me. Oh, do you have a minute? He got that from me. Oh, what do you think of that set?
What do you have to show off at the end?
Because my coach taught me that. He's like, I saw you watching, so I was like, yo.
Are you doing triples, not fives?
I thought we're doing 15s.
No, check the program. Is it actually triples?
Yeah, it's actually triples. Are you messing with me? No, it's triples.
I don't know. We were doing fives for a bit.
Yeah, not triples.
How's the knee? Good?
Yeah, knee's feeling good.
How was soccer the other day?
Brutal.
Yeah,
like
you
if,
soccer this weekend?
Yeah, I want to go for a run this weekend. I don't know if
Cycling
my coach hates when I run. No cycling.
What about rock climbing, bro?
Oh, just quickly, give us an input, your input into why it's important to stick to your own numbers and not get emotionally attached to what everyone else is doing around you with training.
Because you should have your own plan and you're recovering and progressing at the way it's intended. If you suddenly go too heavy or too light, it throws the plan off whack. And then it can derail your goals and progression. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Don't be too stressed out about what other people are doing.
Yes.
You don't know what they're doing, and they don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
Right, see ya.
Cheers. See ya. Who's?
See you guys.
See ya. Okay.
So I guess to build on top of what Arif was saying and the message that we're trying to get across to everybody out there, you have to stop comparing yourself to what other people are doing around you. And with the amount of connectivity that we have these days to looking at what somebody who might be intermediate or advanced or like a professional athlete, a professional powerlifter, Olympic lifter, when you look at what they're doing, what you see a lot of is big numbers, heavy weight, lots of intensity in the training, which you should always bring, but in different ways. Sometimes we can get lost in the idea of, if they're doing it, that's what I have to be doing. They're the numbers that I have to be chasing. It's important to remember why you're also training. If you're not somebody who's looking at entering a powerlifting meet or sort of training for any particular sport where you're at an elite level, there isn't really a need for you to be chasing those sort of elite numbers, I would say as well, because there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that we never really see, because it's just not something that really brings a lot of social media attention. It doesn't get the amount of followers that these people are sort of looking for as well. And it's not that they're really chasing that, it's just that platforms like social media are built based on people looking at the cool shit, liking all the cool shit. Therefore, that must be what we also should be doing. If you're somebody who, you might be a, you might be somebody that's an office worker that's trying to get a little bit fitter and just feel a little bit better throughout your day, a 200 kilo weight on your back is probably not the best way to achieve that feeling that you're after, the longevity that you're after from your body.
The contra to that is, say you are the advanced athlete that wants to do a powerlifting meet, that wants to push their body to the fullest and get the most out of their performance. There's still a really good message in that when you see that elite athlete or that high performer getting after it on Instagram or Facebook, they're just showing you those glory moments, those wins. They're not showing you the behind the scenes and the process and the recovery and the respecting the proper training methods. So sometimes we can get caught up in that of like, oh shit, I've got to push for that heavier lift, got to keep going, and we forget to follow proper protocols. So in both examples, it's important for it to be a graded progression of training. And
realize that there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. That same elite athlete has weeks off training, has deload weeks within their training, and you may not necessarily see that. I guess from a social media perspective, the thing that I would probably suggest to everybody is follow the educators that are online, the people that are actually showing you what happens behind the scenes in their training, in the training of their clients or elite athletes that they look after, rather than looking at the person who only posts their heavy lifts, never really explains what the process of getting to that lift is. For some reason, those people seem to get a little bit more attention than someone who takes the time out to kind of educate and teach people. So I guess don't go for the most followers and what you see on social media. Look at the content, look at what the person's actually trying to teach you as well. Another set. What do we want to end with? You have time? Are you good? You gotta go? So that's my squats done for the day. That's just an example of a session that, I know I'm sweating, but Brisbane, middle of summer, it's damn hot. That's an example of a session that didn't really feel too hard. The weight didn't feel heavy on my back, didn't feel heavy on my legs, to be honest with you either. But I know that it's the session that I need to complete to make progress next week. Next week we're ramping up the weight a little bit. If I go stupid crazy on this one here, then next week chances are that my hip's gonna go, no, we're not pushing any heavy weight, and I'll be limping back up the stairs because that's gonna get re-injured. That's my take-home message. Progressive overload respected.
Ooze. Darko's off to train some clients, but I'm gonna keep rolling. Let's go.
Here I am, squat.
Yeah, they were washed in 2019, bro, before COVID. Easy peasy. I'm just gonna check what we're chatting about next, yo. Longevity of training is something that I've always been super passionate about in my personal training, and also when I teach my clients and our members. I think it's super important for us to think of training, health, wellness, whatever it is that you want to call it. We've got to think of it as a long game. That long game really will come down to, you know, when I meet a lot of young people in their 20s and 30s that are really big on getting after it, training, lifting heavy weights, running more, cycling more, swimming more, but not really putting in the time to rest, recover, recharge, or do all of the good recovery protocols that are needed for longevity. So sometimes I get worried when I meet these athletes, and before we embark on our journey, is, you know, if you're always busy getting after it and not investing the time in recovery, you know, when you reach 50, 60, 70, 80, and hopefully beyond 80 years of age, 90, 100, you know, you want to be able to be mobile and enjoy life, have a high quality of life, not have to worry about blowing knees, blowing hips, spinal deformities, or whatever it is. I mean, I think it's important for us to take the time out and do this stuff properly and invest the time to take recovery and longevity seriously. And a lot of the stuff that Darko and I spoke about today, they're like the fundamentals and some of the key things that will help you guys with longevity as well, and making sure that you can get after it for years to come and keep getting good results. All right, let's do some sets. Easy peasy. Things that I work on, things that I do at the moment to help me with recovery. This is a work in progress, and I'm not perfect by any means. Good sleep hygiene is something that I've really started to invest a bit of energy and time into. I've come across a lot of work by Dr. Matthew Walker. Matthew Walker? Is it Matthew Walker? I don't know. It's probably Dr. Matthew Walker. I think it is. The book was called, I can't even think anymore. The book is called Why We Sleep. And it really opened my eyes to how important sleep is for performance in and out of the gym. Other things that I try and do regularly is good hydration, good nutrition, minimizing alcohol, and then a lot of proper programming in the gym. So I've gone away from lifting weights 5 times a week or 6 times a week. I only lift weights 3 times a week, and I work a lot harder for those 3. I'm getting a lot of results because of it. In between those 3, I'm practicing mobility, triggering, release work, stretching to help facilitate good recovery after these sessions. Quads don't fit, bro. Quads. easy peasy. One of the last educational points for today, Darko and I wanted to get into the responsibilities of the coach versus the responsibility of the athlete or the client. With our teaching methods, our responsibilities as a coach, we've got to make sure that we continue to bring the safest and the most effective training protocols to our clients, to continue to research and stay up to date on all the latest training methods, to individualize your programming as much as possible so that all things are being addressed. And there's a lot more that goes into it, and we like to stay in that lane as coaches and make sure that our responsibilities we continue to work on every single day. But when we were planning for today's educational session, we thought it'd be great for us to talk about the client's or the athlete's responsibilities as well. And this is something that we take very seriously in order to give you guys the best results. So as the athlete, as the client, you've got to make sure that that you're responsible for your nutrition outside of training. You're responsible for your sleep and recovery outside of training. You're responsible for providing your coach with as much feedback as possible on how you pulled up after training, how you're feeling going into the training session, how your musculoskeletal system's feeling overall, if you have any injuries, if you have any niggles, if you're struggling with any things physically or mentally. These are all important components that are part of a good training protocol. Other responsibilities of you guys, you've got to make sure that you stay in your lane with your training. Don't worry about what the other athletes around you are doing in the gym. Don't worry about their numbers, how heavy they're going, how quickly they're progressing, the jumps in training that they're making. It's important for you to worry about and focus on what it is that you're doing at that phase in that training protocol. And if that means you going a little bit lighter or you going heavier than others, that should be your focus, and thinking about all of the things that you can do to continue to improve every single day, every single week, every single month, and on and on. Yeah. So when I chat with Darko next, I'll see if there's anything else that he wanted to add in there in terms of responsibilities of you guys, but I'm pretty sure we've covered it. All right, let's keep going. That's my day 3 squats done. Today's a light day. It's all about priming and prepping the body for my heavier squat day, which is on Monday. So I'm now gonna progress onto the rest of my workout. I think I'm benching in there somewhere, and I've got a bunch of accessories to catch up on from day 2. Ultimately, lighter squat day, felt good, pretty easy. Just feels good to be under the bar, squatting, getting ready for Monday. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're pretty serious about having fun and bringing a lot of this educational content to you guys. We enjoy what we do a lot, day in, day out. We're working with clients, members, and ultimately, a lot of you guys have very similar goals. Burn fat, increase strength, muscle tone, look good, feel good, perform good in the gym, get stronger. So we're gonna continue to have fun with our educational series. I genuinely hope that you guys got something out of this video, and if you've learnt one thing, then that's our mission accomplished. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it a lot. If you found this valuable, please share it with your friends and family and anyone and everyone. Don't forget to hit subscribe and activate the notification bell. You know what to do. Thank you. See you guys next time.